We're going to continue that conversation, and we're going to take a look at some equivalent fractions. Who knows what we mean by equivalent fractions? What are we talking about when we say equivalent? Ready?
Fractions that
Agree? Did you hear what he said? What did he say after 2, 3? Can you say it again?
fractions that are equivalent to each other.
Yeah, what are equivalent fractions? Fractions that are
Are the same as each other.
the same as each other? Okay, do you agree? Does that sound good? Okay, the same in value, right, or in area? Okay, so let's take a look up here at this chart that I've made us. For those of you who can't see, it says halves, fourths, eighths, and sixteenths, and I want you to be able to see these small geoboards that are up here. Then I'd like you to turn and talk with your neighbor about what you see. So let's pull back together again with 3, 2, 1. What did you see? You can see what you see.
That where the half is in the halves aisle, and every middle row is going to equal 1/2.
So her prediction is that all the way across here, it's going to be, could I say equivalent? Equivalent to 1/2. Thumbs up if you agree. Disagree? Okay. What else do you see, Jarvis?
I thought maybe 1/4 and 1/2 would be 50.
Oh, so you said maybe we're looking at a pattern here where we'd add 1/4 to 1/2 and see 3/4. How many people understand what he's talking about? Can you say what he's talking about, Cameron? What was he saying? If you add and he said maybe you get, all right, did that make sense? Who else saw some patterns or made some observations? Brady?
Each time, like on 1/4 and it goes to 1/2, it just keeps getting larger by 1/4.
Agreed? Okay. Alrighty. Anything else that you noticed? What about this observation that Mackenzie had where she said she thought all of these would be equivalent to 1/2? Do you think all of these will be equivalent to 1/4? Archer, you do?
Yes.
Okay, so you think we're talking about equivalency as we go across horizontally? Yes.
I think that if that's true, we can't do 1/4 with half. We can't do that, so I don't think there will be anything in that.
So are you understanding what Archer's prediction is? That he doesn't think, he says if that is true, what Mackenzie said is true, then this will have to be empty. Agreed? Okay, anything else along that line? Okay, let's see if it goes like that. Well, let's start out with our fourths, and you see eighths. I'm wondering if, let's pass these out real quick. You might want to be making some sketches here as we go. This is the geoboard paper that we work with sometimes, so you can sketch a geoboard right on there, remembering to make the outside band. And you might want to take a look at this. Let's just quickly pass these out. And while you're doing that, here's what I want you to think about, mathematicians, is there a way that we can make an equivalent fraction to fourths with eighths, and what does it look like to show that comparison? So let's have you draw that out when you get your paper. Is everybody following that? So the challenge is, Mackenzie says that these are going to be equivalent, and you agree. Is there a way that we can draw out the eighths to equal a fourth and best show how they're equivalent to each other? So what we're going to want you to do is to divide your geoboard into eighths. Is it important that each one of those sections is the same size as the other? Is that an important idea in fraction? I'm seeing some people really thinking about this and thinking about how to best show that this is going to equal this. I'm wondering if you can tile out your whole geoboard into eighths so it's easy to see how many eighths this would be. And Archer, do you mind hopping back and getting the hover cam set up? It would probably be best to put these on the hover cam.
Yep.
Got some ideas, Jarvis?
Yes, I thought maybe you can split it in half, and then in fourths, you can split all 4 fourths in half.
And you think that that would be an eighth?
Yes.
You're thinking, hang on just a second, we'll take a look at this. May I hold yours up while we're waiting for the hover cam? So are you following? Some of you still working, and that's fine. What Jarvis said is, when he thought about eighths, he thought about cutting it into fourths and then bisecting each of those fourths so you had eight equal parts. How many people agree that each one of these parts is 1/8 of the whole? So how many of these would you be shading in to show 2/8? Okay. So be sure to shade in what you need. And then, Brady, let's take a look at yours. I've asked Archer to do something that probably, Archer, you know what, you can just leave that, that's okay. Let's take a look at Brady's. Thumbs up if you agree. Well, Brady, come up here and tell us what you did. That's better.
I had the same idea as Jarvis, but all I did, I made it into rectangles, and so my idea was I knew that one of these squares would equal 1/4. So all I had to do was just, because I know 4 is half the 8, I just split it in one of the squares in half.
Okay, so you said a fourth is half of
1/4 is 2/8.
Okay. So 1/4 is 2/8. Does it seem like this one shows the story? Is this congruent? Is this part congruent to this one? Why don't you go ahead and cut that out for us? Yeah, just go ahead and cut out the outside of that. And how many other people had that same way of doing it? We're going to look at some other ways too, I think.
Got it.
Thank you so much. Okay. So would that have worked with Jarvis's way? Would that have worked with Jarvis's way? Let's take a look at this. Does it show equivalency? How would you, okay, there's a glue stick right in here. How would you label this one? How would you label the ones that we're seeing? What fraction is it? Mark, what would you do? How would we label this one? Right there. Anybody have an idea? Turn and talk. How do you think we're going to label that one? What do you think?
Okay, 2/8 because it would go in the same spot where the 8 is already.
How should Brady label this? Who's got some advice for him? You want to call on somebody, Brady?
I think it should be labeled as 2/8.
Thumbs up if you agree. Anything different? Okay. And there should be a black marker in there you can use to label it. 2/8. Now, would it have been possible? Wait, now this 2 means what?
It means there's only 2 parts of the whole thing, and this equals 1/20 unit, and then there's only 2 parts of
Okay, so and you divided it into what?
it.
8. Does that make sense? Okay. So I'm wondering if we showed this by coloring in a different 2/8, would it still be 2/8? Yes. But why does this one lend itself so well to comparing with this one? Do you see, Jarvis, do you see?
I see that they are equal fractions because I know that 1 is half 2 and 4 is half 8.
Okay, so you like to look at those numbers and what happens in that case. And Renee, when I listened to you talk, I heard you talking about adding together here. What were you adding?
I was adding 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/8 plus another 1/8, which is the second one.
Okay, so let me see if I've got that right. 1/4 plus 1/4 is 1/8, right? Everybody okay with that? 1/4 plus 1, you're some disagreement? What are you thinking, Sam? What are you thinking?
That 1/4 plus 1/4 equals 2/8.
I disagree.
What is happening here? What are we thinking about? What are you thinking about?
1/4 plus 1/4 equals
1/4 plus 1/4 equals 4/8. Any agreement there? Is this 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4? Interesting. So how would we say this? If we wanted to put an equation, we weren't asked to do that, but that was the conversation that came out. What would you do here, Abby?
1/8 plus 1/8 equals 1/4.
Okay. I think I'm going to write that down just because that's pretty interesting. It's always so tricky with fractions because the numbers mean something a little different. An 8 is smaller than a 4th, isn't it? How many times smaller is an 8 than a 4th? Jarvis? 2 times smaller? Agree? Okay. So I'm going to write 1/8 plus 1/8 equals, what should I put here? What should I put here? 1/8 plus 1/8 equals 2/8. And 2/8 is equivalent to, Lilia? 1/4. Are we okay to do that? Okay, great. Well, what if we think about 16ths? Is there a way that you could sketch 16ths and make your 16ths equivalent to 1/4? Remember, we're trying to make this as clear as possible, so you may want to use this same space. Go ahead and sketch that out right now. We're going to make another, right? And we're going to be concerned with 16ths. And you know how to use this one because it's made it look so much like the other one. Do you have 16ths? Is that a 16th? So we're thinking about, that's interesting. Okay, so tell me what you're thinking.